Hello, everybody. Welcome to another fantastic episode of Youth Connect. I'm Aiden.
Hi, my name is Kevin.
Hi, I am Logan.
And welcome to our Youth Connect. Hi, guys. Welcome to another amazing Friday where we're going to have our usual episodes of Youth Connect. Hope that you guys are excited for some fun news. Now, for those who don't know, Youth Connect is definitely going to be a show that I think that you're going to love because it's a whole mixture of video game news, world news, a little bit of interesting facts, some cooking knowledge, live music. It has everything and whatever we can grab our hands on, we want to share with you. It's a show that's made by the community for the community. And I know that Youth Connect is going to be really fun today. And if you know, with Youth Connect, we always have to start off with some interesting gaming news. All right, guys, time to bring you your first gaming news. And I thought I was really kind of just scouting this one because I really was thinking to myself, is it good? Is it not good? And let's just say that it is a lot of fun. I think that this game is going to be fantastic. And today's game of the week will be called Repo. Yes, Repo. So I want you to talk about Repo, a game that has been really taking the world by storm by giving the players a eerie world where you have to collect things somewhat like Lethal. And let's just say I love Lethal, but Repo, a copy of Lethal? Let's just say that these games are two entirely different things. In Repo, you play as a contractor or a robot tasked with reclaiming valuable assets from haunted, abandoned, or outright dangerous locations. Unlike typical horror games, this one doesn't just have you running from monsters. You're also balancing greed and survival. The physics-based retrieval system adds a unique challenge. So basically, you have to bring the item over to you, but if you smack it against the wall, it's going to take damage. So the more damage you take to the valuable, the less expensive it gets. So you got to be careful. And what's really interesting is it really stands out from the other co-op horror titles by blending stealth, strategy, and of course, environmental interactions. So what's fun about it is that there's tons of different types of loot and tons of different types of systems to it. But I love this base system where it is a more physics-based. So you can pick up an enemy and throw it away rather than just running away from the enemy. You're actually doing something, which is quite interesting. Now, I learned that Repo is actually still in its early stages. It is actually currently standardized as early access, meaning that there are only a handful of maps available. Some players have noted the need for more environments, additional monsters, and better balance in the in-game shop, which features some very funny overpriced items. And multiplayer right now is also limited to private lobbies, but they're already working on it. And actually, every single week, they are releasing an update log on their YouTube channel. So they are really good with their community. And I really like it because I've seen some of these like horror games get completely abandoned. So I'm really super excited to see how far this idea goes because apparently the modding scene is crazy. I'm on the modding scene now and it's a lot of fun. So it might seem like another Lethal Company clone, but it really shines its light with its unique physics-based system. Its monster designs are cool and they're a lot of fun. You can play single player and multiplayer, but I recommend doing multiplayer because single player is a little bit more difficult. Have more friends, as they say. Anyways, this has been your gaming news. Again, Repo, really fun game on PC. I recommend that you check it out. Next up is Kevin with some all-important news, sports, and weather, but more importantly, that interesting fact that's going to be shared. Whatever could it be?
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Youth Connect News. I'm your host, Kevin Aruja. So let's get right into the headlines. Ontario Premier Doug Ford has concern about auto tariff impact. Toronto Blue Jays fan toss from a Rogers Centre for sporting Canada is not for sale hat. The Scarborough subway extension tunneling stalled near Highway 401 for months, and Canadian company scrambles to keep up with torpedo bat mania. Ontario Premier Doug Ford said he was relieved to see Canada is not facing any of US President Donald Trump's new reciprocal tariffs, but he's still very concerned about the province's auto sector. While the White House says Canada and Mexico are not subject to Trump's latest tariff, say they remain under previous economy-wide duties the president has linked to the flow of fentanyl across the borders. As well, 25% duties on automobile imports into the US comes into effect today. Ford says while vehicles made in Canada will likely be hit with tariff at a lower level, depending on the percentage of America parts in them, the threat to Ontario's auto sector is still very high. Today, Stellantis announced that it is temporarily pausing production of its assembly plant in Windsor, Ontario, for 2 weeks. It assesses the effect of the tariff. Ford says he is expecting a federal government will support affected workers, but he hopes the shutdown is only temporary. Ford reiterated that existing countermeasures in Ontario, like the removal of U.S. alcohol from the shelves at LCBO locations, will remain in effect. The province has no plans to allow American companies to bid on contracts either. Etobicoke, Ontario resident Dan Begley was supposed to be at the Rogers Centre on Thursday afternoon watching the Blue Jays home opener with two of his buddies. Instead, the longtime fan said he was escorted out of the stadium by two big security guards just moments after the game began due to his choice of headwear. For today's game, Begley, who is 78 years old, wore a Blue Jays hoodie and a red ball cap with the slogan, "Canada is not for sale." This is the same type of hat that Ontario Premier Doug Ford donned during the First Minister's meeting earlier this year, not long after US President Donald Trump started threatening to impose new tariff on Canadian goods. Ford said he wore the cap as a reminder to all Canadians about the importance of standing up for our country. Begley, who got the hat about 2 weeks ago, said he felt that the message resonated with him and decided to wear it to today's game. Begley, who said he never expected that he had any issues with the hat. He said he was inside the stadium for about an hour and a half, adding that the bartender who served him a beer even complimented him on it. A short time later, however, he said he was approached by an usher who politely told him that the hat he was wearing is contravention of that rule against political statements. He said he was told that he had to either turn it around or remove it entirely. Two security guards then approached him with a supervisor and brought him into the hall before leading him out of the building. He said he decided to contact the media because he feels that others should be aware of his so-called controversial logo policy. Goldstein said they invited Begley back to the ballpark, and he has accepted our apology and is looking forward to returning. Begley, in a following-up interview, confirmed that he spoke with a representative from the Blue Jays, who apologized for what happened and offered him free tickets to another game. As work continues building out of a suite of provincial transit expansion projects in the Toronto area, it appears that massive machine responsible for tunneling the future Scarborough subway extension hasn't moved from the Highway 401 area in months. At the end of November, City News reported on how the Metrolinx president and CEO Phil Verster said during a quarterly board meeting that unexpected soil conditions were affecting its $757 million advanced tunnel contract being carried out by Strapback Incorporated. He said the soil conditions tempered the progress of the tunnel boring machine, which is TBM, adding Metrolinx staff were working with Strabag on the technical solution as a scheduled solution. In the recent follow-up inquiry by City News to check in on the project's progress, officials said the second of two planned stops is happening on the south side of Ontario's busiest highway. Ontario residents and the board of directors that oversees Metrolinx typically receive updates in some form on major projects such as the Scarborough subway extension during public meetings held several times a year. However, there hasn't been a public meeting since the end of November, and the next one isn't scheduled until the end of June. In early 2023, when tunneling began, Metrolink staff described the TBM as being roughly the length of three GO transit train cars and how it would create a tunnel diameter with width of more than three TTC subway cars. Officially previously said the machine would move around 10 to 15 meters daily. The whole journey was expected to take a little more than 2 years to complete. Officials said on social media in February that a public tracker to follow the tunnel boring machine's location and progress would be launching shortly. But a link to such a tracker couldn't be found on Metrolink's project's website. Questions involving a link to the promised TBM tracker, specifics on solved issues, the difference in distance traveled versus the earlier project timeframe from completion, and potential budgetary impacts weren't directly addressed when asked about in late November. And now moving forward for the sports news, a Canadian bat company is scrambling to keep up with the wave of interest after the breakout weekend for baseball latest innovation, the torpedo bat. The somewhat usually looking bat shifts the barrel biggest mass closer to the hitter's hand. It became an overnight sensation after the New York Yankees launched a jaw-dropping 15 home runs during the opening series against the Milwaukee Brewers. None of those none of those came with a single game on Saturday, with five Yankees swinging torpedo bats. Since then, Quebec-based bat manufacturers B45 has been inundated with calls and messages from players eager to get their hands on one. B45, known for crafting birch bats for over 2 decades, is one of the several manufacturers producing torpedo bats. The design has truly hit the big leagues after last weekend's slugfest. The Torpedoes bat is a brainchild of Aaron Lenhart, a former MIT physicist and ex-Yankees coach who now works for the Miami Marlins. B45 assists general manager Olivier Lepine explains that while traditional bats concentrate mass at the very end, torpedo bats shift it lower right at the so-called sweet spot. Former Yankees catcher Jose Trevino was among the first to test B45's torpedo bat during spring training in 2024. A few others followed, but the bats didn't get much traction. That wasn't until Giancarlo Stanton used one during last year's World Series run, where he crushed 7 postseason homers. Then came last weekend's barrage of homers for the Yankees. The Toronto Blue Jays outfielder Davis Schneider is already on board. He owns two torpedo bats from B45 and placed an order for a dozen more. B45, which employs 10 people in this facility in Quebec City, has ramped up production, expects to start shipping more bats to pro players by the end of next week. The company has received 30 requests from major leaguers and dozens more than amateurs since Saturday. In today's weather forecast, we've got sunny this afternoon. The temperature is now 10 degrees. And tomorrow we will get light rain. The temperature will be 7 degrees. And now moving forward for an interesting fact, we're going to talk about April Fools. Yep, April Fools. It's already happened on perhaps 3 days ago. So the story, April Fool's Day or All Fool's Day, is an annual custom on April 1st, consisting of practical jokes and hoaxes. Jokesters often expose their actions by shouting April Fools at the recipient. Mass media can be involved with these pranks, which may be revealed as such this following day. The custom of setting aside a day for planning harmless pranks upon one's neighbors has been relatively common in the world historically. So I got 6 interesting facts about April Fools. April 1st is a day for practical jokes in many countries around the world. The simplest joke may involve children who tell each other about their shoelaces that are not tied and then cried out April Fool. When the victims glanced at their feet, some April Fool's jokes publicized in the media. There are several theories about the origin on the April Fool's Day custom. One explanation focuses on the introduction of the Julian and the Gregorian calendar. From ancient times, people in some part of Europe celebrated the new year on or around the March equinox. However, the new calendar systems define January 1st as the first day of the year. The third fact is, in the early 1960s, there was only one television channel in Sweden broadcast in black and white. As an April Fool's joke, it was announced on the news that viewers could convert their existing access to display color reception by pulling the nylon stockings over their screen. The fourth fact is, practical jokes and pranks date back to ancient Roman times. Ancient Romans and Celts celebrated a festival of practical joking around the time of the March equinox. The fifth fact is, in 2002, British supermarket chain Tesco published an advertisement in The Sun announcing a genetically modified whistling carrot. The ad explained that the carrots were engineered to grow with tapered air holes in their side. When fully cooked, these holes could cause a carrot to whistle. And the last fact is, in 1934, many American newspapers, including the New York Times, has printed a photograph of a man flying, supported by a device powered only by the breath of his lungs. Accompanying articles exactly describe this miraculous invention. With that, we come to the end of my segment. Tune in for next week's news, weather, and your favorite interesting fact. This is Kevin Aruja, and it's back to you, Aiden.
Guys, so thank you so much, Kevin. You know what? April Fool's is always quite interesting to me. I don't know. I always say it like this. Games that have the April Fool updates are the only thing that makes April Fool fun because it adds new stuff, new things to check out, and they're mostly made out of fun jokes. But April Fool's itself, like, I don't really participate in it, or really don't participate all that much because I can't really come up with things sometimes. So I guess it depends on person to person. Kevin, do you do a lot of April Fool's pranks? And what about you, Logan? Do you do April Fool's pranks a lot?
I haven't, so I decided to be careful
Okay.
for that.
What about you, Logan? Do you do April Fool's pranks a lot or not really? You might be muted.
Well, not this year.
Okay, not this year. Yeah, that makes sense. I just like checking out the April Fool's updates of games. That's really funny from time to time. Thank you so much, Kevin. I really appreciate it. And time to move into our second gaming news. Now, let's just say in the last 2 weeks, a lot has happened. I mean, a lot. We've had a Nintendo Direct and a Nintendo Switch 2 Direct, 2 Directs, and the Nintendo Switch comes out on the 17th, which is literally 2 weeks away. Now, I'm going to write to you right now the Nintendo Switch 2 Direct and the important details of the Nintendo Direct before that one. But for right now, let's talk about the Nintendo Switch 2 Direct. So, actually, oh my goodness, wait. So yeah, sorry, I apologize. The Switch 2 will be releasing on June the 5th, and pre-orders will be opening on April the 9th. The base model is priced about $450, while a bundle featuring Mario Kart World will cost $500. And that's actually quite surprising, guys. A game only costing $50? Have they gone down in price? I hope so. But what makes this console so special? So, interestingly enough, Nintendo has kept its hybrid design but leveled up its power. It sports a 7.9-inch LCD screen with 1080p resolution, HDR support, and a smooth 120 hertz refresh rate. When docked, it can output 4K at 60 FPS, making it the most powerful Switch yet. And battery life sits between 2.5 to 6 hours, and the dock now comes with an integrated cooling fan to keep performance stable. Now, we don't care about performance. I mean, some people do, but I think what's really important is the games. There's lots and lots of games. So first up, we're going to be talking about Mario Kart World, a open world Mario Kart experience where players can roam freely between tracks. And there is a new knockout tour mode where racers are eliminated at checkpoints. Plus, real-time weather changes will shake up every race. You've got games like Donkey Kong Bonanza, which is bringing back Donkey Kong in a fully 3D adventure, his first since his Nintendo 64 days, set on Ingot Isle. Donkey Kong will be smashing boulders and hunting for hidden gems when it launches on July 17th. And for longtime fans of the GameCube classic, get ready for Kirby Air Riders. We haven't seen a Kirby game in 12 years, so it has been quite a while. Some other things include GameCube classic games, so it includes Legend of Zelda: The Wind Waker, Soul Calibur 2, and F-Zero GX, and including third-party games like Tony Hawk Pro Skater 3 and 4, Hades 2, Borderlands 4, Elden Ring, Street Fighter 6, Hogwarts Legacy, and many more, which also including a new From Software game in the works called Duskbloods. I'm going to be honest with you, Nintendo Switch 2 looks like it has a bunch of amazing games that are going to be really exciting for next year, or technically for this year, but next year is going to be a bunch of brand new games. Like, for example, if you guys saw the previous Direct, we had games like Tomodachi Life, Rhythm Heaven, and Tamagotchi Corner Shop being updated in 14 or 12 or 10 years. I was most excited for Tomodachi Life because my mother, my father, and myself, we all played Tomodachi Life. So seeing a brand new Tomodachi Life literally made me jump off the couch. If you guys want to see more of the Nintendo Direct news, I recommend that you check out the Nintendo of America YouTube page and check out the full Direct there. Anyways, I'm going to keep it moving. And next up is Logan with some cooking knowledge that he has to share today. What could it be?
Hello, Youth Connect. I am Logan, and welcome to another episode of my culinary news. Today's news topics: a Popeyes pickle-themed menu, closure of the UK's best Indian restaurant, a rise in health-conscious food choices among American consumers, and the Michelin Guide expands to the south. Starting off with our first topic, Popeyes has introduced a limited-time pickle-themed menu, which launched just a few days ago on April 1st. The new offerings include pickle-glazed chicken wings and sandwiches, fried pickles, and pickle lemonade. Now, despite this new menu launching on April 1st, and while initially teased as an April Fool's joke, Popeyes has confirmed that the launch of the menu is genuine. The real joke is that they decided to do it in the first place. But anyway, this reflects the company's enthusiasm for pickles and their intention to deliver a balance of texture, acidity, Louisiana flavors, and good natural humor. In other news, the Brilliant restaurant, acclaimed as the UK's best Indian restaurant, is set to close its doors on April 7th. Located in Southall, West London, the restaurant has been a culinary landmark in the city for 50 years, receiving praise from the likes of Gordon Ramsay, who prominently featured it in his Channel 4 series, as well as being a favorite restaurant of the current King of England, Charles III. The reason for the establishment's closure, according to the owner, Dipna Anand, is to focus on her new restaurant venture, that being Brilliant Gastro, which will open in Southall's Green Quarter mid this month, offering fusion cuisine that blends Punjabi roots with Western classics. Now, for some more news, recent statistical data from the grocery delivery app Instacart indicates a significant shift towards healthier eating habits among Americans. Searches for high protein and high fiber foods have increased by 39 and 159%, respectively, since 2023. Additionally, purchases of lower sugar foods and beverages have risen by 9%, and low carb options by 8% since 2021. Most notably, non alcoholic cocktail orders have surged by a staggering 350%, reflecting a growing consumer focus on holistic and personalized health approaches. Now, for my last news story today, the Michelin Guide is extending its reach to a great number of southern states. This includes Alabama, Louisiana, Mississippi, the Carolinas, and Tennessee. Michelin inspectors are evaluating the restaurants in these states based on criteria such as ingredient quality, flavor mastery, chef personality, value for money, and consistency. Local chefs have expressed great enthusiasm in the interest to their states, highlighting their rich farming scene and their growing sophistication of its culinary sector. The upcoming Michelin Guide results are highly anticipated and signal a significant step forward for the southern culinary landscape. Either way, that's all the news that I have for you this week. Thank you all for listening, and back to you, Aiden.
Thank you so much, Logan. There's so much news going on in the cooking world. I did not know you guys had so much. But you know what? It is definitely interesting to hear, and our listeners are absolutely fascinated by it. And you know what? It makes some of us a little bit hungry. Anyways, let's keep it moving, guys. Now we're getting into our Super Ability Crew community news. So we have actually accomplished quite a lot this week in our during our 11 o'clock I Can Discover classrooms. On Monday, during that day, we did geography, our travel series where we explored Spain and flamenco dancing, famous landmarks, and fun cultural facts. Olé, as they say. Tuesday, we did vegetarian salad rolls, and we tried to make salad fun. And who says salads have to be boring? I'm going to be honest with you guys, even though that we tried, they were quite weird for me personally. I'm not the biggest fan, but you know what? My mom was very happy about it. On Wednesday, we did our abstract community art class where we let our creativity shine with a fun and expressive abstract art session. Everyone created their own masterpiece because art is not about feelings and there's no rules whatsoever. During a Friday, we had our trivia and general knowledge where we finished the week with one of our all-time favorites, trivia. We tested our knowledge, learned fun facts, and gave our brains a really good workout. Now, very interestingly, during the weekend, we actually had our community musical extravaganza, and we celebrated with music, rhythm, and pure joy. And first, the ukulele crew kicked things off, followed by djembe drums, percussion, and lots of enthusiasm. Did you guys know we even had bucket drums? Because that's how we do it. If that sounds fun, don't miss the next event. You're always welcome, guys, to join in. Now, I also want to include, guys, just as a thing, it is Autism Acceptance Month, and I wanted to say a few words. You know, it's not about awareness anymore. It's more about acceptance, real, honest, everyday acceptance. This means opportunities, listening, seeing us as we are without trying to fix, change, or hide us. The truth is, we're not broken. We're not less than. We're just wired differently. And that wiring creates artists, athletes, musicians, thinkers, builders, writers, storytellers, people with so much to offer. So this month, I'm asking you to do one thing. Make space for difference, for communication, and that looks or sounds different, for ideas that challenge the usual way of thinking. Because acceptance isn't passive, it's active. And when we're accepted, we grow, we shine, and of course, we bloom. Now, this technically is the end of our Youth Connect. For those who are wondering, where in the world was Jeff? Well, I got some very fascinating news. Jeff is driving to Daytona, Florida. Yes, the Daytona, like in the song Daytona. I'm gonna miss him today because I was like, where is Jeff today? But you know what? If you're going someplace, you can't do a Youth Connect on the road. That would be absolutely mind-boggling. But I think we'll definitely see him next week. Anyways, guys, I really hope that you guys have an amazing Autism Acceptance Month. If you like to connect, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe.
And don't forget to click the bell.
Other than that, guys, I hope you guys have an amazing week. Enjoy yourself. It's going to get quite busy. Trust me, I know you're going to get really busy next week. And we will see you all next time. Goodbye, guys. Catch you later.